All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. I got an interesting topic today, but I don't know if it's going to be what you think it is or what it appears to be, or you're just going to have an opinion. Now, the thing is, I'm reacting to this video I seen where it says Will Smith's mother accuses Jada Pinket of witchcraft. Now, I want you to see how they paint this narrative through media. This is for fair usage, commentary, educational purposes under the Fair Use Act of '76 and YouTube guidelines.
Ever seen him go off the first time in his lifetime?
It surprised you too, huh?
It did. It did. As I said, I've never seen him.
Our union is a sloppy public experiment. It is a sloppy public experiment in unconditional love. Jade is the best friend I have ever had on this planet. And I am going to show up for her, support her for the rest of my life.
We are back again with another twist in the Will Jada Smith saga. And this time, Will Smith's mother has allegedly dropped her 2 cents on everything that has been going on with her son and his family.
Okay, I want to stop there. Now, you know this music. Well, this is the loudest, like, YouTube video I've seen in a minute where you can do a reaction and it's actually recorded this loud. But I want you to go step by step as the content creator shapes the narrative.
Smith's mother, Caroline Bright, has expressed her disapproval of Jada Pinket's antics and her surprise at how Will acts around Jada, which is totally unlike the son she knew and raised. She believes there is more to it than meets the eye and that Jada might be secretly performing witchcraft to keep her son under bondage. This is an interesting angle to explore, so let's get right to it. Caroline Bright and her son Will Smith have been through tough times together.
I'm gonna stop right there. Now she's finna paint her narrative because what she's going to do at this point is she's going to retrace all of Will's trauma, which they only know because Will told his own business. So watch how they shape the narrative.
Starting when Will was just a child, Will's father, Willard Carroll Smith Sr., was an alcoholic and aggressive man who often took out his anger on his children and wife. Will, being the eldest son, was the most exposed to his father's violent outbursts. He disclosed in his memoir that his father's aggression was mainly targeted towards him and his mother.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York just issued a digital dollar, effectively replacing paper money with.
This made Will and Caroline very close, as they offered each other emotional support through the hard times. Caroline and Willard eventually divorced, and Will and his father got closer shortly before his father died. But Will's strong bond with his mother has not faded a bit. She has also been a solid rock in his career and has been there through his losses and wins. When Will won the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance as Richard Williams in King Richard, she was right there, full of joy and pride for her son. I am proud of him being him. I know how he works, how hard he works. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. When I heard the name, I was just Yes, this is why it has been heartbreaking for Caroline to see Will stuck in a toxic relationship, repeating the same cycle she went through with her husband, Willard. For Caroline, the most unbelievably shocking thing that has happened with Will was watching him go up on stage and hit another man in the face over a.
Now, I don't know if you caught that. How the mother says Will is being abused by Jada like she was abused by his father. So they repeating a cycle or some type of generational curse. This is what she thinks. And this is why the undercurrents is like they're trying to say witchcraft or generational curses or whatever. But pay attention to the narrative of the content creator. You can see what media really is about.
Joke. The 2022 The Slap Oscar will go down in history as one of the most memorable because of that single action. It generated a lot of backlash from the public, but the people most stunned by Will's actions were people in his inner circle who knew Will very well. One of them is, of course, his mother, Caroline. According to Caroline, she had never seen her son act out like that in her life. She knew Will as a kind and peace loving person, absolutely not the type of person who would choose violence if there was an alternative. Even his siblings know him to be kind and generous. Will's younger brother Harry once told people.
Okay, let's stop right there. I'm gonna show you a contradiction. I'm gonna show you how they playing with the story. Wasn't the whole thing that the mama and Will was close because they were the target of abuse by the father just a couple of minutes back? That was the narrative. Now is I don't know how he would behave like this and whatever. Clearly, he was raised in that type of environment. Let's continue.
People in an interview that despite Will being punished by their father every time their father got into one of his moods, Will always found a way to make his siblings smile. He'd go around a corner and make faces so we'd laugh, and we'd get punished worse, he told people. So, to see Will act in that manner on such a big stage, it was beyond comprehension. Caroline confessed that the incident left her deeply disturbed about Will's mental and emotional health. In her interview with ABC Philadelphia affiliate WPV, she expressed her worry over the kind of influence Jada might be having on him. In the interview, she said, "He is a very even people person. That's the first time I've ever seen him go off. First time in his lifetime. I've never seen him do that." When you critically examine all the evidence from that Oscars incident, it is hard to come to any conclusion other than that Jada does have some kind of woo woo control over Will. When Chris Rock initially joked about Jada's alopecia, Will seemed to take it in good sport and laughed. He didn't seem agitated at all until he saw Jada roll her eyes. With that single action of Jada's, Will suddenly realized that the joke was offensive after all. As if under a spell, he ignored the fact that he was at the Oscars with the whole world watching, marched up to the stage.
Hey, let's check that part out again. How she painted that narrative. Let's look. Let's just look at how Jada looked at him. That was interesting. All right.
Saw Jada roll her eyes. With that single action of Jada's, Will suddenly realized that the joke was offensive after all. As if under a spell, he ignored the fact that he was at the Oscars with the whole world watching, marched up to the stage, and gave Chris a good smack in the face. Right after Will makes what is undoubtedly one of the biggest mistakes of his career, you can see Jada lurch forward as though she is laughing. Jada talked about that night extensively in her newly released memoir, Worthy. According to her in the book, that slap was a critical point in her and Will's marriage and 6 year separation. She wrote, "What I knew, for the first time in 6 years since our breakup, was that I would stand with him in this storm as his wife, no matter what." Jada continued, "I had not felt that way in a long time. I would not abandon him, nor would I fight his fight."
After everything that they went through and how Will got drugged through the media, Jada is saying now she rewarded him that night because of how he snapped and did what he did. And he made that sacrifice. He made that sacrifice for her. His whole career, he showed that he would sacrifice anything, his life, go to jail, whatever. He showed her that he was willing to sacrifice everything for her. And she rewarded him. This is deep.
For him like I had tried to do so many times in the past. So, let me get this straight. If Will had not gotten up and embarrassed himself at the Oscars that night, would Jada never have realized that she had to stand by Will through thick and thin? I don't know about you, but it seems like, in Jada's words, the slap was some test of his loyalty to her. The fact that she can ask him.
Wait a second. Don't go anywhere.
You got to be crazy. Get this Negro out of here.
Did you know that
No.
Him to do something as ill-advised as that to prove himself to her speaks to the amount of control Jada wields over Will. And if that doesn't sound diabolical, I don't know what is.
He laughed at that bad joke that Chris said, like everybody else. And then Jada looked at him, and it was like the Manchurian candidate.
Not the Manchurian. Not the Manchurian. God damn it.
Even Jaguar Wright couldn't help but notice how Will slapping Chris Rock was unnatural for Will. In her interview with Real Life Production, Jaguar talked about how she suspected Jada was engaging in hocus pocus to control Will and make him do her bidding. She also mentioned that thanks to Jada, the couple has traumatized and abused so many young men in Hollywood, like Meek Mill and August Alsina.
They're both bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mill.
In case Jaguar White and them ain't gonna do it, let me interject. Allegedly.
Bashir Gray left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed the house.
She added that Will and Jada are bi, and they may have done things together that will be too disastrous for their careers to survive if they separate. Maybe that's another reason why they continue to stick together. It has gotten so bad that Will's close friends are coming out to talk about how they fear for Will's well-being in his relationship with Jada. One of Will's close friends, Bilal, granted an interview with Comedy Hype where he got candid about his relationship with Will and how that relationship has suffered due to Jada. According to Bilal, Will was like an angelic person to him. Through their decades-long friendship, Bilal has watched Will grow into a generous, kind, and awe-inspiring person. Unfortunately, their friendship started to go downhill when Will met Jada, who immediately took over so much of Will's life that it began to change Will and make him a twisted person. Despite Jada's recent outbursts and the dozens of interviews she has given, trying to air out everything that has happened between her and Will in their decades of marriage, Will is still here supporting her and keeping up the image of the dutiful and loving husband. During Jada's book signing event at Pratt Libraries, Will gave a heartfelt speech in Jada's honor.
I'm going to ask a question, though. And this is something that I can see in it. It's like, okay, we know Jada is a feminist, right? Could it be her flaunting power in communicating something to certain types of women or certain genre of people that she's flaunting a particular power? Because this ain't about the money. This is about power.
He is the best friend I have ever had on this planet. And I am going to show up for her, support her for the rest of my life.
That would have been a very romantic and touching moment if we didn't know just how tumultuous Will and Jada's relationship has been. From the numerous entanglements and infidelities to the separation, Jada's confession that she never even wanted to marry Will, and their strange parenting styles. Streets are saying Will continues to take every blow Jada dishes out because she has him under a spell. One person commented, "This is witchcraft." After the nonsense Jada pulled, no man in his right mind would continue to be a part of her life. Another said, "Jada is so overrated and extremely insecure. She uses witchcraft by dangling past relationships to crush men's egos. That gives her power. Also, Jada does witchcraft. I'm convinced. No way Will is this hooked on a woman who continues to play in his face. Given everything we know about..."
Now it's interesting in the concept because I told you it's going to take a twist if you think about how the content creator is narrating this topic. But would you consider candlelight and red rose petals and all those colors as romantic, or you say create an atmosphere? Scented candles, rose petals, things of that nature that you say create atmosphere or create a mood based on what they saying. And this is a thought because women have mystique. All women have mystique. When does mystique becomes mysticism or magic or witchcraft or whatever? But listen to what they're saying.
Them, it's hard to argue against that logic. Although there is always the fact that Will is a grown man who can make decisions for himself. So, the big question is, if it is not witchcraft, why does Will continue to stay with Jada? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, check out this next video before you leave.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting how they paint the narrative because you always hear music like Nina Simone made that song, "I Put a Spell on You Because You're Mine." And you hear so many songs, in R&B or in our culture about spells or whatever. And then the church always called R&B rhythm and blues in the theater. They call that the devils or whatever. But this is interesting. Tell me your take on it in the comments. Peace out of Detroit. Keep your head on the swivel.